Sessions. Welcome, Amalia and Megan. Thank you.
So Megan and I are going to talk about preserving the voice, recording the voice. As we get started, you're going to see a few bits of agenda up here. A couple points that we would like to make very clear. If anyone has any interest whatsoever in recording his or her voice, we cannot say enough that it's important to do so as soon as possible. So don't wait. The other point that we would really like to make clear is it's not for everyone. So please, we hope that we can give you information if this isn't a familiar process to you, so that you can make your own decisions.
So today we'll be talking about two separate processes. One is called message banking and the other is called voice banking. And our hope today is that you'll walk away with an understanding of what both processes entail, and if you're interested in pursuing one or both, you have a sense of how you might go about doing it. So the first process we want to talk about is called message banking. And message banking is essentially recording words, phrases, sentences, your laugh, the way you clear your throat to be sarcastic, the things we say that make us us. We will talk a little bit about mymessagebanking.com, which is a website where you're able to store those recordings, and then go through a little demonstration of the equipment that's involved in the process of message banking. So Amalia is going to be our lovely model today. There's some equipment that's required for recording your voice, and we always recommend a portable handheld recorder, and that's going to allow you to record messages in the moment so that they're sounding really authentic, so that if you're calling the dog, it sounds like you're actually calling the dog and not kind of recording to a wall. The first recorder is called the Zoom H1 recorder. And unfortunately, this model of recorder has been discontinued. You can occasionally find them available on Amazon, and we have one available right here for demonstration. And this recorder comes with a micro SD card reader, which will record up to 3 hours of recording. So if you mess up, we recommend you just keep going, and you're not going to run out of space. We've never had anyone run out of space before. Have you? Okay. She has. Okay. It also comes with a AA battery. Importantly, the equipment does not come with a windscreen, which is really critical when you're thinking about your buh sounds that tend to distort on the microphone. It also does not come with a USB cable. The SD card can be challenging to remove from the microphone. So a mini USB cable can be very helpful when you want to download your recordings to the computer to listen to what you've recorded. Finally, if bringing the recorder to your mouth and pressing the record button is problematic, we often recommend using a headset microphone that plugs into the input jack of the Zoom recorder, and that will allow you to record high-quality recordings. So Amalia, why don't you demonstrate for us recording some messages?
I will do a little gooseneck here on this microphone. Okay, so I'm going to hold my recorder down here because I am going to use this microphone to speak into, and I can see my display, I see my button, and I'm so tired. How did I sound, Megan?
Sounded great, very natural.
And so the message that I just recorded, if we played that back, if we played it through here, which we won't, or if we put it into the computer and played it through a technology, a computer that had the ability to give you that voice output, then we'd hear, "I'm so tired," exactly as I recorded it. It's simply a recorded message, a digitized message. So same thing, if I laugh into it, if I read a story into it, if I'm talking on my deck and there are birds singing, you're going to hear me talking on my deck with the birds singing in the background. So it is how it's recorded.
And we'd like to emphasize recording messages that truly capture your personality. So if you're someone who frequently uses profanity, please go ahead and message bank that profanity.
No judgment.
There's no judgment. You will never offend us. We really want to capture the true emotion and intonation behind your voice, because the voice output, the commercially available voices that we use for speech generating technology can't capture that emotion, that intonation behind the messages. So that is the discontinued model. Recently, we've been working with the Zoom H1N, and that's the newer model of recorder, and that is available for purchase on Amazon. And if you're interested in message banking, please come find us afterward. We're happy to talk to you about the equipment that's needed and the process behind it. It's important to note that this model of recorder does not come with an SD card, so that would be a separate purchase. And again, very important to purchase the windscreen to protect from the background noise and plosive sounds. Okay. Should we move on to voice bank?
Yeah, let's
Go
move to
ahead.
voice banking. Okay. So there have been a lot of changes lately as far as options go for recording your voice. We've covered message banking a bit. There's another process called voice banking, which really had been a discrete process where you would sit down at your computer and you'd have a really good microphone on a headset or on a stand like this, and you would record a large sample of speech, maybe reading from a phrase list, say, of 1,400 phrases. So a pretty large sample with the goal of obtaining enough of a sound sample that a voice could be created based on your own. So should sound a good bit like you. Now, there are several different companies who support voice banking, and there's some little bit here about the cost. Really does have quite a range, from free up to about $1,500. That does not include the computer, which you would need to have available to record into to send off those files that you had recorded.
And I think it's important, too, to note that insurance does not view message or voice banking as a medical necessity. So it is an out-of-pocket cost if you choose to create a synthetic voice for yourself. But there are options that are free or low cost that are financially accessible for many of the people we work with.
And that's somewhere that we are happy, again, to work with you to provide you here today or in the future with any sort of information, resources, anything that we have at our disposal that we can use to help you to either connect directly or to connect through your speech-language pathologist to learn about these options.
And it's important, too, to note that if you do voice bank and you create a synthetic or computerized voice for yourself, that voice will have perceptual characteristics that sound like you, but again, it's not going to capture the emotion and inflection behind those messages that are really critical. So for people who do choose to voice bank, they often choose to message bank in conjunction with the voice banking so that those really important messages or their messages for their loved ones or their pets would be understood.
And so here, this slide shows we've gone over the message banking with the handheld recorder and the voice banking, which is really recording from a large list of phrases. And then down to the bottom, the part that is really exciting, the new and developing technologies that are becoming available that we really only expect to see continue to grow over the next several months even. Being able to, say you message bank several hundred phrases, not counting songs and, say, laughter, coughs, silly voices, whatever, but messages. If you record enough messages in one of these recorders, then it is possible to submit those to a third-party company who can then create a voice like you had done, as if you had done voice banking, and create that voice based on your message banked files. So this is really new, this is really exciting, and just gives more options.
We like to call it double dipping. Many people come to us in our augmentative communication program, and their voices are already impacted by ALS, unfortunately. And so a really common question is, if my voice is already impacted and I want to create a synthetic voice, how will it sound? And so a lot of these companies will allow you to do the work of creating a synthetic voice and preview it before you decide to make the financial commitment to purchasing that voice. Bottom line, if you're interested in voice preservation, just do it. We're happy to talk to you about the equipment you need to get started, some thoughts about what you might begin recording. It seems like a pretty daunting and overwhelming process when you're first starting out, but if you just get started, you'll have more of an opportunity to preview your recordings, view the errors that you're making. If you're kind of recording in a flat, monotone voice, we can give you feedback on that. If you're recording in the car with a lot of background noise, we can give you feedback on that. But the sooner you begin, the more inventory you'll have to sample from.
And another piece that we have to recognize is your friends, your family, your colleagues, people in your village, those are the people who can give you great ideas. It's hard to know where to start. People come in and say, what do I record? Well, you have to start somewhere. So I will say, certainly in our practice, we'll have a caregiver, a spouse, a family member who will say, you always say, whatever it might be, fill in the blank, colorful as can be sometimes. So rely on those around you to kind of tip you off. This is something that you say, and I would love to hear it in your voice and not in some kind of a computer-generated voice, which, by the way, there are some very good high-quality computer-synthesized voices that are available commercially. And some people do choose those as options, so.
And this also isn't to say that everyone who messenger voice banks ends up using their banked messages or their synthetic voice. It's sort of a bank. So basically, if you need it, if you want to use it, it's going to be available to you. We've worked with many people who have regretted not being able to do it. So we'd like to get the message out sooner rather than later that if you're interested, go for it. And if you're not, that's fine. Frequently asked questions, then we hope to end with some time for questions. What if my speech pathologist doesn't know about voice or message banking, Amalia?
We would love to help if that's the case. Please do find us. We will remain available to give you some ideas for how to get connected and or to communicate directly with your speech-language pathologist.
And then in terms of what to record, if you're going to be message banking, it can be hard to think about what to record. So as Amalia said, source out to your village. What is it that I say all the time when I'm being sarcastic, when I'm making jokes, when I'm being silly, when I'm talking to my grandchildren? What do I say all the time that makes me me? And record that, and record it in different intonations. So if I say the word seriously, I can say it several different ways and capture several different meanings behind that word. And that's not something that can be done with computerized synthetic speech. What if I can't hold the recorder? I think we've addressed. You're able to plug in the handheld microphone or the headset recorder. Or hold it for your partner.
Nonverbal communication, the nod, go ahead and talk.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes.
Okay. How long should it take?
How long it takes is entirely up to you. Certainly, some people come and say, I have 10 messages that I need to record. They record their 10 messages and return a record at us and say, I'm all done, I'm good. And we ask about 5 times, are you sure? Because we want to make sure you're sure. We have people who record 2,500 messages and are not done. We have people who take home a recorder and do a couple and say, you know what, I'm good. It really is up to you. You record as long as you feel you need to record.
You're in control of the whole process.
Absolutely.
If your speech already sounds different, message banking is still possible. So think about the things that it's really important for you to communicate to get across. If you want to record saying something like, I love you, or a swear at the Patriots, or anything, whatever is important to you, you can still do it.
And what happens to my recordings when they're stored in mymessagebanking.com? We do have information on this. If this website, if this isn't familiar to you, we have limited time to get into it now, but we do have a handout, and we would love to talk with you more about it. Just a place that you can store, you can upload your messages, and as Megan said already, it's a bank. It's a place to store them. Need them or not, they remain.
And finally, if I need to use technology to communicate, what can be done with my preserved voice? And the answer is a lot. There are a lot of options for integrating banked voices, for integrating your banked messages, your recorded messages into a range of different types of technology. I'm sure you've had the opportunity to see just a sampling of the technology that's available in the expo today. Just know that if you choose to message bank or voice bank, it's not tying you into one specific brand or type of technology, that your speech pathologist will work closely with you to identify the best possible match for you and your communication needs. We hope to end with plenty of time for questions, and our contact information is here and on the handout, so please feel free to reach out to us anytime with questions.
Great. Any questions? Hold, I'm coming.
I can speak loudly.
Oh, very low.
So if messaging can now, if the technology exists for messaging to be converted into a voice,
Yes.
does that also mean that if somebody has already started to lose their articulation, that if they've been recorded, say, in an interview or in a play or something else, can that be used to create a voice even if they can't do the voice recording now?
The answer is it depends. So it really depends on the quality of the recording, if there's background noise in that recording, and what file type has been used for that recording. But essentially, the company that creates this voice through the double dipping process needs a sufficient sample to capture all of the co-articulated sounds in English. So all of the sounds against all the other possible sound boundaries that might occur against them to create that voice. It is possible.
But it doesn't have to be a specific script.
Correct. Yep, that's the glory of double dipping. Yes.
Any other questions?
We have a question. Anyone in here who has experience with done message banking or voice banking or both, who has anything that would be helpful to someone considering, or especially for our Facebook Live audience out there, something they might like to pass on that someone else should know? Anything? Yay. Thank you. Sorry. Oh. Yay.
Hi, Megan.
Hi.
I've done message banking with Megan. I'm all done the process. I've done 400 to 500,
Yeah.
and it was pretty simple. I'd go see Megan once a couple months,
Yeah.
and I'd take the microphone home. While I'm sitting there, I would say a comment, different comments. Of course, my wife would help me, different things, and it's very helpful. So in the process down the road, if I do lose my voice,
Yep. You're living in the cloud.
right, all I
Yeah.
gotta do is go to my computer at any time, and I just hit the button.
Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Going a step ahead, if you had your message banked or your voice banked, what is the end result? Looking down the road, now that you've banked it, how do you perceive using that in the future? How would that come into play, and what advantages or benefits do you have?
So may I clarify, you're saying, so I've done the work.
No,
What can I do?
let's say I was a message bank.
Sure.
How do I mean, what benefit is that going to be down the road to me? How is it going to be utilized? Is that going to be in some computer-generated technology?
Right.
Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Sure, yes, absolutely. So let's, like you said, we'll start with message banking. So if you have recorded, let's just say you've recorded 500 messages, for example, what someone like Megan or I could do would be to pull those files exactly as you had recorded them into a communication software program. Now, communication software programs are large and powerful options for communication. They're loaded onto devices, computers, technologies that can handle them. And then what could happen is you could type into a keyboard that's on a screen or an actual keyboard. By the way, you don't need to use fingers to type. We have a lovely OT friend here in the audience today who can talk about that if that's helpful. So you can type in a message and have the computer speak that message to you. If it's a message that you recorded, that you said, "Good morning," and that's actually in there, recorded in your voice, when you either find the phrase that says "good morning" and choose it, or if you type in "good morning" and hit the speak button, it's going to say "good morning" in your voice as you recorded it.
Any other questions?
One more thing.
Okay.
You can take it home and listen to what you've said on the microphone, and if you don't like it, you just delete it
That's it.
and say it over again.
You have control over the
Yep.
entire process.
And then you put it in different categories.
Yes. So the mymessagebanking.com website, which we unfortunately didn't have time to touch on today, is a free resource where you can upload all of your recordings. IBM's Watson listens to those recordings if you record in English only at this time, unfortunately, and does his best to kind of caption what it is that you've said into the recorder. From there, you can categorize those recordings or tag them based on categories that make a logical sense to you, so that if you need to use a communication software program, the method of locating that recording is logical to you. Any other questions? Comments?
We have just under 5 minutes left if anybody has any other questions.
Yeah?
I think you're good.
Great, thank
So
you very
before you
much.
leave, we do have 2 gifts for you. So thank you so much, Megan and Amalia, for your participation today. Thank you.
And we can remain here, we can circulate. We're happy to speak to any or all of you who have
Absolutely.
questions. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we will be starting calories count at 2 o'clock. And it is right now 1:51, so you have 9 minutes. Oh, desserts in the hallway. Oh, even better.
Time for dessert.
Dessert. Enjoy.